Hello, everybody. So we welcome you at our Startup Leaders Club today for our online panel discussion by inspirational leaders of innovation and drivers of change. And today we discuss Global Trends 2020 as a fast track to the new reality, Series 11. And it's a brainstorming session between entrepreneurs from different parts of the world, different industries, to find new synergy effects, creating new business models, discussing new pivots, and finding new opportunities in crisis. My name is Nadia Nestirova. I will be moderating this session. I'm an independent director of the board of the National Alternative Investment Management Association and advisor to a number of leading general partners in private equity, real estate, venture capital, and hedge funds. And we'll start with a brief introduction of our panelists today. Raju, hello, could you join us?
Yes, Nadia, thank you very much for connecting me. I'm Raju Chavan, founder, president, and CEO of Cross Industry Solutions. I'm based here in Washington, DC. I have been actually working in various industries over more than 35 years. And this company, which I formed in 1999, predominantly to focus on the most mission critical, the haunted issues, what we are observing today, what we had seen in post 9/11, and going forward, what are the challenges we will face. So our model is actually focusing on a strategic, planning and providing the advice, looking at what are the issues, the patterns, recognizing those one, and preparing our customer for the future. So this is our core business model. So we'll discuss more about what are the new opportunities that open up in COVID-19, and I'm glad to be here. Thanks, Nadia.
Thank you, Raju. Hello, Jacob. Could you also start with the intro?
Hi, Nadia. Thanks for the invite. Myself, Jacob. I'm from India, southern part of India, from Cochin. My company, C Mercury, we are into AI-based marketing automations. We create highly contextual one-on-one campaigns for marketing communications for various brands.
Thank you, Jacob. And Stephen, you're just back from our pitch competition and roadshow and joining us from Bahrain. Would you also tell a couple of words about your company and yourself? Stephen, you are muted.
Hello, Nadia. Thanks for having me here. I'm Stephen Thomas. I'm the founder of Mudley, a local social e-commerce platform. And I would like to share some more insights on the new kind of pivots and about the new reality that's coming up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Sylvain, could you also introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Sylvain Kalash. I used to be a software engineer. I work for various startups and large companies like SlideShare or LinkedIn. I'm now the co-founder of Holberton School. We are a San Francisco Silicon Valley school that is training people to become software engineers with a new type of education where there are no formal teachers and no lectures. The school is also completely free until students find a job, and our grads work for companies like Tesla, Apple, Rappi, Google, and so on. We have now 9 locations in 4 countries, and thanks for having me on your show today.
Thank you, Sylvain. And the first question actually will be to you. So you have a bit of a social impact as well in your endeavor. So as you are not charging money during the education, and today most of people are losing their jobs as well. So it's a lot of talent management issues in my question. So what is your strategy to go on? So will you continue with that on a free basis after the COVID, or what's your further on strategy?
Yeah, in terms of tuition, we are keeping the no upfront tuition, meaning that students have the choice not to pay their education unless they find a high-paying job. Actually, the demand for software engineers has been growing. At least in the US market, unemployment for software engineers is actually going down, which is very crazy, considering that in pretty much any other industry, unemployment has been skyrocketing. We do that because our model we believe in our model. We develop our curriculum in relation with corporation, and we make sure that what students are learning is suited for companies to be to hire them and so that students can make an income. The main change that we operated is that Holberton School used to have a very strong in-person component where students would have to come on campus multiple times a week. With a shelter in place, we obviously remove this element of our education. And in a matter of a day, we were able to fully transition online.
Thank you so much. And Raju, so you have lots of infrastructure projects and
Yes.
you also work in cybersecurity, which is also a kind of response to the current situation because most people, they work remotely and are working online from all over the world. So what is the situation with your multiple businesses?
Yes, specifically, Nadia, with this COVID-19, what we are seeing is the cyber criminal, the cyber attacks has quadrupled in last 3-4 months. It is a consistently growing industry, and as we predicted that this is going to be close to a $6 trillion losses, global economy is going to witness in next year. So every organization is trying to focus on, they were focusing on the cybersecurity side, but again, this is again become their kind of a top priority now, because since the cultural shift happened that people started working from home. So there's a lot of information, the data, the exchange, what is happening between the companies, the participant, and all these, IoT devices, and also the amount of cloud storage growth and number of people on the internet are growing. So that is a kind of a good kind of a battleground and opportunity for the cyber criminals. So certainly that information sharing, which was especially in the government space here in the US, we are not allowed anybody to work outside our top secret facilities. But now, because of this one, we had to shift that one. So how we basically allow the people to be connecting securely from their home, even though we're talking about VPN, IPsec tunneling, it is still cyber attackers, they figure it out how to penetrate to those walls. So from that angle, yes, this is a model which we adopted almost 15 years ago, working from home. So we prepared ourselves for our own security, that how we communicate, how we shield our identity, how we avoid the cyber criminals to even know that where we are. So our platform, like cyber geofencing, which we presented, that has taken a direction that this is required. Nobody realized that why it's required. And we always tell that, what is the first thing? You have to go to the very basics of any kind of an issue happen in our life, whether it's in our personal life or in our professional life. So the basic fundamental question we have to ask, what is that minimum thing, something they need to attack us? So one of the things is we say that, well, for your computer, they need your IP address. Your cell phone, they need your IMEI, your SIM card address or your MAC address. So the address has become, even they wanted to come and rob your house, they need physically where you live. So these are all the key things, very, very basic, fundamental thing. So our whole experience, and advice, what we are giving to the industry over the last many decades is going to the basics. And you prepare yourself from this worst nightmare, what you get. And we always tell our customer that disaster doesn't happen just like that. It gives you the enough warning, but we fail to intercept, the intelligence. And that's where we are. And that's one of the things. So the cybersecurity market is one of the things is if anybody is asking, hey, with all this epidemic now, a lot of businesses going down the hill, whether it's a retail, whether it's a supply chain, whatever, whatever the business you are in, whether you're online, whatever. Online is buying and selling is increasing. But if you're not there, certainly it's a challenge, and if you're trying to get today, there are too many players. So we prepared, but nothing, doesn't matter which industry you're in. What we focus on is a problem which is common across various industries. That is what our cross industry solution stands for. your solution should work industry independent. So if you are in automobile industry, and if automobile industry goes down the hill, you take a hit. If you are in a healthcare, or you're in a financial sector, or you're in telecommunication. So whatever the solution you build within that industry, just make sure that it is easily adaptable, pluggable, and expandable in other industries. So your solution should be flexible. And as I mentioned in previous, yes, we need to find the flexibility, for workforce, so that way they can be more productive, But that flexibility also applies in our real life, in our professional life. As we say, from an investment point of view, we always say that don't put all your eggs in one basket. You need to diversify. So same principle you need to apply in your professional side, in your business, whether your business is, expandable across, So that is a flexibility what I was talking about. And cybersecurity is a common thread. If you look at it, everybody needs a security, whether you call it physical security or computer security, whatever, So that is a common thread. And that cyber criminal industry, as you see, is now with this COVID-19, there are a lot of research, all this vaccine, all the labs, everything is getting hacked, so they're worried about, so that becomes a top priority for government, for the enterprises, and also the individual. Personal private information is getting stolen, so that is a great opportunity what we are working on, and we have been asked to develop this product for a long time, and we are working on it ourselves, and now I think it's the time to launch it within the next 6 months. So that is our target.
Thank you, Raju. And Stephen, you wanted to address some business model pivots you're employing now in your business and maybe share some of the cases of your peers?
Thank you, Raju, for your insights. They're valuable, and of course, you're working on a great project. Of course, the new pivots that are emerging currently are mostly in the sectors of e-commerce, ed tech, as Sylvian is also working at that, gigs, and social. So these are the sectors which, as per the investors, are open to investment. But at the same time, they also have another perspective saying that, it's difficult to pivot on the old themes anymore. Like whatever was happening pre-COVID might not bear the fruit or match the expected IRR. So going forward, they're looking for something new. They're looking for fearless founders. They're looking of something new must be required, which might start during this COVID, but also end up well post-COVID scenario. So I think the whole ball game has changed, and what investors are currently looking at are, of course, the founding members of the team, along with the new pivots, which I have just mentioned. And club with that, of course, you need to show some good traction, and you need to share what are the future plans. And okay, one thing which is also most important, as they said, was the teams must be agile, and also the companies. So one has to adapt themselves into agility. You must be agile, because if you're not agile, of course, there are no chances that you might succeed. You might succeed in the shorter run, but in the longer run, definitely you will have less chances to succeed. Given that, and looking at our project which we're working on, I guess it gives us the opportunity to reach out to many investors, because we fall in the investment criteria or the zone, basically, like social and e-commerce. Okay, we are agile, and we see that we are addressing a need for the sellers, the small-time sellers who want to go online, of course. So I think that's okay. Yes, we can add a lot of value, both now and later. And with all the changing pivots and changing mindsets, changing businesses, changing perspective, I think post-COVID, okay, things might return back to normal, but there are some things which will always stay. Like people say, a scar is always left behind, and the scars might be good. People might be more used to online. People might be transacting more cashless. People might be more prone online, and that's why, like, Raju's company is definitely needed, because it will help us counter the frauds, and that's also very important. So yes, there are complementing synergies across, I guess, and what Sylvian is also doing in the area of edtech, I guess, and of course, I think we're all trying to add value here.
Thank you, Stephen. And Jacob, would you like to add something on your own business case?
Yeah, our situation has been, see, if you take globally the marketing automation business, the current scenario, I think everyone is affected. You cannot say that everyone is left spare. So, because the priorities have changed, especially that in March, April, and all, if you look, the overall global business on the automation front, marketing automation front, has been on a low journey. Now it is picking up. That's what we are seeing, the trends from the Asia region, especially from the India data, what we have at our hand. What we are seeing, there is an upward journey. But certain regions, the second wave as well as social spread is, feared, and that potentially may have again, further negative impacts on the business. So prioritization as a business, our prioritization at this point is to spend optimally, spend more time in terms of optimizing the product portfolio, trying to extend the product capabilities. These are the things my team has been focusing on the last 3 months. Obviously, sales part is pretty difficult, to be very honest. Sales have taken a big hit. But having said that, retention is not that challenging, because majority of our customers, we share a very good rapport, have been working with us quite for many years. So there are positive trends on the retention front, and more volumes are coming up from the existing customers. But for the new business, I think we need to wait for some more time. That is my observation.
Thank you, Jacob. And Sullivan, so you were lucky to attract your previous round of financing last year. So do you have any further plans? Do you feel any change in your investor relations? Are they becoming more demanding? Or maybe some new formats of online communication between investors, bringing some new differences, highlights for your strategy?
Yeah, so the last round of funding was our Series A, which came as we had a strong product market fit. And with the COVID situation, as I just shared, we had to transition from an in-person education that was, the model of Holberton School, and we grow this model to 9 campuses over the world. So by going online, we will be able to train more people and also open more easily in more geography. So in some ways, we are in some ways more attractive for investors because our ability to grow is now greater, and also because they understand that the need for education is going to be even more needed than before, right? Like today, 90% of people go to college, a university to get a job. But I think that everybody starts to understand, including companies, that studying 4 or 5 years in your life in the university might not be the best way to learn a craft, any type of craft, whether it's marketing or accounting or software engineering or marketing or whatever it is. And people, another trend that we are seeing on the consumer side is that people want to upskill. They want to change career. Maybe they used to be a cook or waiter or maybe a grocery cashier or thing like this. And now they are unemployed and they're like, okay, I need to find a job as soon as possible. I won't be able to invest 4 years of my life to get an education, so I need something quick. So there is a very huge demand here. And so obviously investors understand that and want to invest. So I think for Holberton, for us as an education, it was a challenge to transition from in-person experience to online because our education is provided through a software, right? It was very easy for us to make the transition. And now with the pandemic, I think it's not gonna go anywhere anytime soon. It's gonna remain. No one knows for how long. We are speaking now about potential new pandemic coming from China, right? Like a pandemic, like a disease coming from pork. So I think this is gonna be our new normal. So I think as a business, no matter what industry you are in today, you need to be able to be flexible. You need to maybe do business as usual. And I think most human beings don't like being only online, right? Like listening to someone on the screen, not being able to interact with other people, human beings, is not our nature. So people in general prefer in-person education, right? They like to go on the campus and interact with other people. But when you have a pandemic and you have no choice, well, you still want to learn, right? So I think no matter what the industry, you need to have this hybrid model, right? Where you can operate normally, right? When the sanitary situation allows, but also operate online when you can. That's what we are doing. And I think a lot of companies that are also empowering existing businesses to go online, right? Like Shopify is one of them, for instance, or tools that allow communication online, like Slack and things like this, I think are gonna, or Zoom, right? Which is what we are using right now. I think a huge search of user, obviously investors. So I think it's, again, like investors are interested in companies that can operate online, or companies that empower other businesses to go online.
Thank you, Sylvain. And Steven, so what's new in your consumer industries and e-commerce? So what you would like to implement, or maybe what advice do you have from investors you're currently in negotiations with?
Well, of course, the change is inevitable, I guess. So consumer, there's a huge change in consumer mindset. And of course, in terms of how consumers approach doing their shopping or interacting, like Sylvain said, we're using more often Zoom and resorting to online channels. So there is going to be a shift towards online, and the cashless society will be here to stay for the longer period. And I guess the words of advice from investors that we've learned is we must be agile, like every team has to be agile and has to focus on the changing mindset. And there should be fearless founders, of course, ready to take on a challenge. And investors don't mind supporting those companies who are trying to come up with a new norm, addressing the issues which would counter the new norm, of course. And like the industry that I mentioned, the e-commerce, the education technology, the gigs technologies, and the social, they are here to stay, at least for the time being, as we know it. Of course, when the new norm happens, there's going to be, the times are going to evolve, the needs are going to evolve. So we might have to adjust another time after the new norm has been established, looking at how the new norm is. But more or less, yes, it's an optimistic situation. Of course, there are hardships, but as you always know, I mean, things always happen in the worst of times. New companies are formed and they make good business, and they are a success story.
Thank you, Steven and Raju. So what are your thoughts about the changing situation on your market itself, and what new emerging opportunities you may anticipate for your own segment in line with the cross-government decisions, solutions you currently face?
Yes, as we see that there is a quite significant shift happen the way we operate. So it has opened up, a lot of opportunities. At the same time, I think most of the businesses are facing kind of they have to take a backward step, that they cannot move forward because of, whatever the limitations they have in their business model. One interesting kind of a trend which we observed in last 4 months is, based on our relationship with our customers, as we had proven in past that we are always, helping them to find a solution, what is next, So they are coming back. So my advice to actually most of the people who are watching this one is, if you really wanted to survive in this evolving and changing world, go back to your trusted relationship and the customers. If you are a fresh graduate coming from the university and you say that you're trying to find a job, and the job market is already flooded with the experienced people, so naturally the businesses is trying to hire the experienced people than hiring the fresh graduate from the school. So you are in the very difficult kind of catch-22. You wanted to get the experience and nobody's going to give you the job. So what we observed here, the trend is, our customers, who is our trusted partners, they are coming back to us and they are asking us the solution, what they never thought about is, based on this, what's going on. And very interesting thing happened 5 years ago. We have been invited to solve their core financial issue, like they were losing the money in the business. So we looked at their infrastructure, where they're investing, how they're making the money, and why they're losing. And when we had given them the advice, which is specifically of the way they're buying the commodities, and we land up with the commodity contract. We never sold any commodities to any customer, but because we become their strategic advisor and we showed them how they can optimize and save the money and they can expand their business for future. So this is a trend also during this COVID. Now since we have become the commodity supplier, we are the distributor of various products and solutions, including the infrastructure modernization. So now they're asking us that, can you supply us all this shortage of all the, COVID-19 supplies? So now we tap into our network in healthcare, say that, hey, are you a manufacturer of this one? Because we know that when overnight, you cannot manufacture everything here in the US because we were so much dependent on China and other countries. So all those, since supply chain is blocked, so now they need to figure it out, that how we can make it, manufacturing of those items locally. So there is always a shortage of something when it is a surge of demand. So one side you can see the lot of, thing got blocked in this COVID-19, but at the same time, there are new opportunities open up that in the healthcare area where you can be supplying of all these commodities, what these whole hospitals and everybody needs. But again, if you do not have that manufacturing, you should have those trusted relationship and partnership that you can empower to survive in this market. So the trend, what we are seeing, that even as again, I was mentioning, our model is so open and flexible. We operate in 25 industries. So we have the healthcare, we have the telecommunication, we have the utility practice. So is any industry which takes a hit, we can shift our gear, and we are, getting a lot of these requests to support that industry. Now we are supporting this healthcare industry. And one of the challenge, what we had seen, that the cases are increasing and we do not have a technology that can do the testing rapidly. So we were investing our time with one of the very, nanotechnology based company where we have more than 70 patents on that. So now we are deploying that technology, which can do the testing in less than 5 minutes. Any it doesn't matter whether today is a COVID-19 or tomorrow some other, infectious disease, comes out. So, but that is where you have to continuously thrive for basically to look for the opportunities and partner with others. You cannot do everything by yourself. So that's what you need to have a very good trusted partnering, network. And that is what we built over the last 3 decades. We have more than 4,000 global companies and pretty much every government we work with. So that is the wealth of, I will say, the knowledge, and also the relationship will help you to expand. So my personal advice to whether you're a fresh graduate and you're trying to find a job to survive in this market, go through your trusted relationship, go to your university, to the professor, and they know your skills. Not everybody knows what you are capable of doing. And penetrate, leverage that your trusted partnership relationship to get to the next level. And that's the only way you can survive in this one, your trusted relationship.
Thank you, Raju. And Jacob, so what is the top priority for your business expansion, and what your next steps you are planning with your business, including the situation we are all in?
So my primary focus could be on small enterprises, because we always has been educating small enterprises you need to adopt digital, and the current scenario has given kind of a massive push into the digital world. We all know this. For example, if I take restaurants, see, I have a restaurant nearby, where my team goes out and normally has the team outings and all. They used to get every day 500 people coming to their restaurant. So when I talk to their manager, I always used to tell him you should at least collect their database. at least, you should collect their mobile numbers, which they always, they were very hesitant, oh, we are crowded, we don't have time to do this. Now, last day I met him and he was telling, Jacob, we missed it in a big way. Now this is the time when I don't have anyone in my restaurant, and I need to supply my food products, and there is no way out. If I would have collected the database, and if I had been engaging these customers through a proper website, now I would not have taken this kind of a beating. So what I foresee here is that a lot of small enterprises, now everyone is kind of a stuck scenario, but people need to come out of this, organizations has to come out of this, and they will be looking at digital, and they will be looking at nearby opportunities. And the first step I strongly believe is that, there will be strong adoption on the digital front, and they will develop ways and means through which, to build ongoing relationships with the customers. Maybe like, even if you're a small outlet, you will start collecting their mobile numbers, you will start collecting their email numbers, you will start sending them messages. So this could be the new order of the day, which I believe. And I don't think there is no other way out for enterprises across the globe. And as a technology solutions provider, we foresee a greater opportunity around this, because our solution is primarily catering to small and medium enterprises.
Thank you, Jacob. And Suvan, what's specific in your team's interaction? So how do you manage the team and in the current situation? So how do you motivate people to stay with you? And what's new in this field, in your sector? Because EdTech unites people from different fields, and usually you have global demand for your services, probably.
Yeah, so I think we have two communities. We have our staff, right, our team. And for them, what we have done is that we make sure to check on their happiness, their mental health. How are they doing, in the time of a pandemic? In the US, we have a social, movement and issue with Black Lives Matter. Also, a lot of political change, happening in the country and all across the world. So we want to make sure that we check on our employees, and we tell them that we are here for them, right? You need to, again, as I was previously saying, online is not something natural for human beings. We are not used to be speaking to a screen, right? We are not meant to be speaking to a screen. We are meant to be speaking to someone in front of us, right? And so for many of us, it's hard to be confined and kind of alone. So that's the first thing we do. Second is we tell people to take their vacation, right? Like I think now in a lot of countries, you have to stay home, or you have to stay at least distant from other people, but you still need to take time off, right? Like it's not because you cannot take the plane or you cannot go far that you cannot, step away from work. So we kind of enforce vacation. We're like, okay, you didn't take a vacation since, N months, like take them, please take time off, right? Like you can take 1 week off, the company is not gonna die because you are off, right? Another thing that's hard is that now we are working from the comfort of our own home, right? In our apartment, in our house. But for a lot of us, it's hard to understand when is work time and when is non-work time, right? Like before for a lot of us, we would leave home, go to the office. Okay, that's where I work, right? And then I come back, I'm at home, I'm not working. Now we're working in the same location. We wake up, our computer is here, it's like, oh, work is already there, right? So it's like providing guidance on how to manage this situation. So maybe it's like, hey, when you go to work, dress up, right? Don't work in your PJs, right? Like dress formally. And perhaps if you have multiple rooms, try to work from your office or this part of the living room, but not in your bedroom, right? Also make sure to eat a meal, right, at regular time. So giving some tips. and also allowing them to change their mind. So we offer online meditation. We challenge each other on WhatsApp and things like this, like a quick 10-minute workout, like push-ups or whatever it is, like physical activity, to help people to manage that. So that's one big change. For students, I think one of the things we've been seeing for like decades now is that technology is disrupting every industry. But I think oftentimes people are kind of think, okay, we do this offline, let's put it online the same way, and it's going to work. I don't think it's true. For instance, if we take education, we have had MOOCs like Coursera, edX, and they were like, okay, we are going to take the same content, copy paste it in a website, and that's going to disrupt education. People are going to consume it for free, almost for free, very accessible. It's going to change our world. It has not changed our world as we think, because just putting content from offline to online is not enough. Like, you need to create a whole new experience around education online. It's not just about placing the content online. And one of the key elements, again, is around the human being, right? Like, we need communication. And so when I'm speaking to you on a screen, I don't see, the same body language. I'm not, feeling how you move or like seeing on your face, and the interaction is not the same. If it's a chat, it's even worse, right? I don't see your face. I don't hear the tone of your voice. So it's how do you simulate an environment that's gonna satisfy the senses of a human being, right? So one of the things we've been exploring, for instance, is virtual reality. You put a headset, and then you can look around and you can see faces of people in 3D, which is closer to what we experience in the real world. So I think there are many industries. It's we speak about this new normal, and I think in some way it's cliche, but I think it's true. It's like, hey, like, okay, going online is kind of obvious, but how can you create this experience that's not just copy pasting, but coming up with something new? And so I think, in education, communication is just key. So that's what we've been focusing on. But if you look at many other industries like retails, let's pick retail. One of the main experience of going to a shop is you can touch, right? You can touch, you can feel the material, you can see, you can try it on, right? And so if I want to buy a new pair of shoes, I want to try them on, right? I want to put them on my feet and look. But seeing on a web page is not the same. So here, for instance, augmented reality did a great job. You can take your phone, point it at your feet, and then you see the shoes on your feet, right? That's like a good way, I think, to simulate the reality. So I think, every industry, if you are an entrepreneur or business owner, try to think in this way, like, how can I bring more of what people like? And the last thing I would add is that sometimes we want to replicate reality, but actually reality is not the best experience. Let me take one example. If we take education, and let's say there is a teacher giving a lecture, right? And they write on the board. You cannot see what's being written because the teacher is in front of the board, right? That's a very annoying thing. So you are like this, trying to see behind the teacher. So perhaps if you have a virtual classroom, when the teacher is writing, perhaps you can make the teacher transparent, right? You can see through the teacher. So I think also, like, a digital age is allowing us to create things that you cannot do in reality. And that's what will make your product more valuable, is because you can do more things online rather than offline.
Thank you so much, Sylvain. And Raju, how do you keep up with the innovations to make sure that your team has this innovative spirit to develop the cutting-edge technologies and absorb it into your project?
Yes, innovation is a part of our life for the entire our career. So everything what we do today, whether we communicate online, when we, whether we meet in person, but since we've shifted our own model 15 years ago, as I mentioned, that we don't meet in person unless it is something absolutely necessary. So we developed, means yes, Zoom and all this thing, we had seen all this online, video conferencing, chat room, all this multimedia. As you must have observed the news in India now, the Indian government has shut down more than 45 apps from China because all that data, what they're collecting is used, people didn't realize that even when you're using the WhatsApp, you have no idea that where your information is getting passed through which gate, and how that information can be misused. So internally, what we did here at Cross Industry is we kept our communication, and a lot of things is what we do is very highly sensitive, especially working on the government project. But now because of this shift in the culture that now people need to share even that sensitive information over the phone, over the video conference. And we know that one. Now, not only the US, digital information which you pass, through the text or to the document, now they got a video, highly, high definition TV kind of, like very precisely they can look at your expression. And as you're saying that artificial intelligence that shifted, everything, like they can create all this fake news and all those things. So internally, what we are trying to, we had adopted this almost, 14 years ago, that we stop communicating over, we don't use the audio video conferences, so we transfer the information through our own device to device, which happens within our own network. We don't use the public internet or intranet, even though within the intranet, we know that whichever the, service provider we are using, ISP, even we call intranet, we're still using some external telecommunication company to take our information and float it on their network. So we used our own protocol, cyber geofencing, which actually helped us a lot to understand what is happening, during our communication. We are monitoring what can happen after we communicate, where our information goes and how they can misuse that information. So we use our very highly, multi-million bit encryption, which is not a single key, which is very innovative way we split it, our communication. So it's very difficult for the hackers to take our data and stitch it together and use it, the way the faulty encryption system today we have, or whatever the IP stack communication we are doing today. So yes, innovative way we address that, our communication, the data exchange, and monitoring of everything what is happening around us, whether it's our physical, facilities, who comes in, who goes out, again, there is a drone technology, which is very sophisticated. So we created our geofencing that drone won't fly within our zone. So we basically send those drones back from where it came. The moment it hits our invisible wall, they cannot penetrate through that. So we can either ground those drones or go back, So there's a lot of innovative technologies had used or actually developed for the good purpose, but it is being misused for the benefits of these cyber criminals. So we actually shielded ourselves, innovative way to manage our communication, what we exchange, how we, communicate with each other, and what information literally need to go out of our network, and how we protect that, even if that falls into the wrong hands. So our innovative way of solving this problem, that whatever happens, you must know before it happens. You should be able to do it during your communication monitoring, and even after your communication is done, whatever you transferred, this whole digital superhighway, what you are going to see, it is already expanded and it's going to expand further. So there are a lot of challenges ahead in the digital world. And this is where we are focusing on innovative ways to ensure that through our platform, we not only have the government, the enterprises, but the individuals, their identities got stolen, and it's costing everybody. So yes, this is where we are, innovative way of managing our internal and external communication.
And Stephen also had a question to you. Hello,
Sure.
Stephen.
Raju, thank you for the great insights about your product. Was just wondering, why don't you consider launching something for the individuals, like you mentioned? Like today,
Yeah.
there are no apps which are available which provide end-to-end encryption. I'm not
Yes.
taking any names of the apps. I don't want
Sure.
to get into trouble.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
so why don't you come out with like an app, simple app, and
Mhm.
say that, well, this is end-to-end encrypted, and once you have
Yes.
the user, so of course, I mean, that would be another point for companies to get you in. I mean, just
Yes.
thought, because you've already built the product, so why not reach out to the people who can take advantage of it?
Yeah,
That's
I think the issue with whenever you say the apps, the moment you deploy the apps, you are actually operating within the limitations of that infrastructure. Whether it's an Apple, whether it's a Microsoft, whether it's a Cisco, whatever. So what we're saying that it doesn't matter what apps you use, whichever the things you use, whether you use any email or anything. What we are basically saying that we are not going to change, because I think it's a very hard sell for anybody. The moment you walking in a personal or enterprises, they have their own infrastructure. You have to go through their policies and procedures. You can't win that battle going through that walls. So the best way is, doesn't matter, you can your business is as normal. The way you are communicating today is fine. The only thing is what we're saying, that the moment the information leaves from your device and reaching anywhere, whether you're doing a banking transaction, you're sending an email, you're sending a text message, whatever it is. So we are basically staying outside of that one to protect. So all the information which is leaving and receiving, and we created a trusted partnership, trusted relation. That is very important. So once you get into the apps business, launching that apps on a specific device and specific network, you are getting into the bureaucracy of those companies. They will not allow you to get to that, and that's where you will lose your battle. And this is what we are doing. We know, and again, in the cybersecurity world, there are great technologies developed. Even our NSA computer get hacked. So if the technology is great, how come your information getting hacked? The reason is because you are living the limitations of the existing stack, whether it's a network stack, whether it's an application stack, whether it's a database, whatever it is. So you had to get out of that, limitation. And as you, Steven, said that, yes, any person, I know we do in a C2C, B2B, B2C, G2G, everything. So it doesn't matter how you want to communicate, direct to consumer, consumer to consumer, business to business, government to business, whatever it is. We stay outside that paradigm of the bureaucracy of managed by this. And I represented big companies, big technology leaders in my career. So I know their interest is at the end of the day to sell you the product. Our interest is to solve the problem. We are not here to sell the product. We are here to solve the problem. So we don't want to get involved in, everybody call that their solution provider. But at the end of the day, you ask whether it's an Apple, Microsoft, anything, any big name. What you're walking away is a product and a license, whether it's an encryption or whatever, but you have to install on the device, and that's where we want to get away from. So our encryption and all those things what we're talking about, and I'll be more than happy, Steven, to share the details behind that, how it is a platform independent. We don't care about what platform you're using, what application you're using, what network you're using. So come and partner with us on our grid architecture, which stays outside. So we are shielding everything around you. So it doesn't matter. You can do whatever the business you're doing, but creating that trusted partnership between you and whoever you're trying to communicate, that is very important. And that communication has to be managed properly, encrypted properly, not the using the standard PKI 256-bit encryption. That's where the hackers are successful of hacking that. So more than happy to discuss that one in greater detail, how we can get that, when you say apps, yes, they don't need an apps, we are saying outside that domain. Their existing app can work seamlessly on our platform, and they don't have to worry about their data is being stolen. Even if it gets stolen, who cares? They can't decrypt it. And we tested that one with 15 world's biggest hackers. We given the challenge, if we can reverse it, any of the 15 files, we will give $1 million, award, and nobody can figure that one out. And that's where we came from, So I'll be more than happy to discuss that protocol with you, and anybody, who wanted to see how we do it. But again, since we operate within the space of the US federal government, so we that's what we are going commercial route. We don't want to kind of restrict ourselves only for the government use. There are a lot of solutions we built that becomes only for government use. And that's what I decided to take this path to go on a commercial route. So that way we can help to the individuals, to the corporation, to the banks, whatever, blockchain technology, if you are in that one, everywhere, nothing is safe. Life is becoming challenging every day. People are losing the trust in everything. Now with COVID-19, they don't know what tomorrow looks like, and that is the most important thing, how we restore the trust. People won't get on the airplane now because they don't say that, hey, how I can be basically traveling when we don't know how I'm going to get infected. So that is a whole different challenge about environmental issue, but yes, at least we can talk about how we can stop this, a data, breach, what is happening. The information is misused and you lose your credibility in the marketplace. You lose your brand because somebody, trusted you and you cannot able to provide that protection, and everybody, I think, is, involved in this digital strategy. At the end of the day, you say that my application works on this network. So you are now depending on somebody to protect you. You launch your product on something, and even, greatest, iCloud solution provider, they are getting hacked. But again, that is a issue. You are living within the limitations of the existing, infrastructure and the software and hardware platform. They all has their own limitations. There's nothing like a golden bullet can tell you, you launch on my platform and we are protected. Yes, Apple did very great thing with their iPhone, that even the FBI wanted to get the data from, for this, and they said, sorry, we can't unlock it. We will lose our, model, because if we give you the code, then people will start hacking our iPhone. So there is a kind of a thing that everybody is trying to protect their turf. And that's what I think you need to kind of see, that who you wanted to protect, how you want to protect. And best thing is you need to find your own way out instead of living the limitations of the existing infrastructure. And that's the end of the day. I think it's, you need to think innovative way, what I can do. Everybody is building the application, launching the application. Where you go online, somebody reports saying that, hey, I enter my credit card information on your site, and you depending on the credit card gateway to protect it, and they got hacked. But where is the initiation? Happened from your site. You can point a finger to the other, but still you had to provide that confidence to your consumers that they came to your site, and you should be able to do it end-to-end, protection. That makes sense, Stephen?
Definitely, yes. I bet that's a great explanation and insight. Would be
Sure.
happy to take it offline with you later.
Sure, I will get it offline. Yeah.
Thank you so much to all. So we are actually now in the final round of questions, so that each of you will be able to bring in some keyword recommendation. What should be in the focus of attention of serial entrepreneurs and startup leaders in your segment during this time, or what would be your advice to VC investors into your segment? So just keep it short to the key message. Maybe it will be one word which will crystallize what should be in the focus. Jacob?
My suggestion would be to stay focused, stay relaxed. There is a great future ahead. We need to patiently get through the current situation. Things are going to be in good shape. Stay focused.
Thank you, Jacob. And Stephen?
Yes, I would say to the founders of startups and all that, you should have a strong resolve. You must reimagine what you are doing. You must be agile. You must adapt to the changing conditions as always. So this is a big lesson, and you need to bring on reforms and innovation to walk the path. So in the future, now COVID, post-COVID, the new norm. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. And Sylvan, what would be your key address to our audiences?
So my keyword, the recommendation would be lean, to stay lean. I think we are in an economy that's quickly changing and situation that's rapidly evolving. Access to capital is obviously harder. A lot of companies have seen their customer base or income going down, and obviously it's going to be harder to get the money in so many ways. So staying lean and being careful about where you put your money. You might want to reduce your expenses to make sure to go through this crisis and actually come out stronger. Actually, a lot of companies that IPO'd recently were companies that were able to go through the 2008 financial crisis. So going through a crisis like this, if you can do it successfully, will increase the chance of having a very strong and resilient business.
Thank you, Sylvan. And what's your keyword and address, Raju?
I think the keyword is your experience, the innovative way you can solve any problem, and the results, what you can produce, what is expected from you, from your stakeholders, from your customers. So the most important thing here is look back and evaluate your business model, how flexible it is, and it can, remain, workable. It can work on any market condition, whatever the issues you face. So the flexibility in your business model is the key thing. And the most important thing is the people in your company, what you're invested. Those are your biggest asset. And that is, I think, is going to keep you going.
Thank you so much. So we welcome you all to join our different formats of communication, which is not only roadshow, speech competitions, Startup Leaders Club, and brainstorming session here, as we all have today. It's also keynote addresses, masterclasses, if you want to share with your audience some more in-depth information and show you cases in more detail. We also have fireside chats, and any new formats are welcome to support the interaction between VC community and serial entrepreneurs. And I wish you all the best for the week, and see you soon on our next sessions. All the best.